Hi, my name is Debra R. Richardson of Debra R. Richardson LLC, and I work with you to help you clean up your vendor data, clean up your vendor processes so that you can pay the right vendor. And this week's Vendor Master File tip of the week is how to combat phishing attempts from fraudsters. So IT Brief published an article called Voice Phishing Attacks on the Rise, Remote Workers Vulnerable. And I'll put a link to that in the show notes or in the description. Now, they also noted that the FBI warned of a wave of phishing attacks. And as many vendor teams continue to be remote, but even if they are working from the office, because accounts payable and the vendor team typically take phone calls from employees and vendors on invoice status, calling back for those change confirmations, etc. Vishing is a real threat that occurs daily. So let's define it and then show how some fraudsters are using it and how you can combat it. So let's define vishing. And vishing is different than the deep fake, where a fraudster will call and attempt to sound like your C-level or other leadership to get you to reveal or change sensitive vendor information. Vishing is phishing via voice, which is the oldest social engineering trick in the book. Voice has been around forever. So the fraudsters are trying to get your credentials, as in the case IT Brief wrote about in their article. Or they're trying to obtain other sensitive information such as banking information. So you might be wondering then how to combat that. Well, the first thing is authentication, meaning you need to verify who you are speaking to on the phone before you discuss the reason for their call. And this is for, or not only for vendors, but it's also your internal employees as well. Because as we see in the IT Brief article, the fraudsters pretended to be company representatives from finance, HR, legal, and IT, because you don't know what all those folks sound like. But I do have a video that I'll link in the description on authentication and what techniques you can use to authenticate who you're actually talking to on the phone to make sure you're not talking to a fraudster. The next one way to combat is automation. And so if you have a way to communicate with vendors and employees that is not on the phone or email either, regarding accounts payable issues, include vendor data or vendor master file inquiries and require that that communication be sent through the tool. That way, the authentication is the sign-in process for those vendors. So if you have a vendor self-registration portal or an e-invoicing tool or a payment status or invoice status tool, any tool that will allow messaging will work. And in some cases, those tools will not only allow messaging, but they'll also allow the upload of documents, which means you can have them upload sensitive information in that tool where they've already authenticated themselves by signing in. So those are two options. Again, I will link the video for authentication in the description. And then the second one, of course, is to use any automation tool that you may have if it has messaging and or upload capability. And unfortunately, even as we are looking towards a light at the end of this pandemic tunnel going into 2021, fraudsters are still evolving and your processes need to evolve as well. So good luck, and don't forget to tune in next Tuesday for next week's Vendor Master File tip of the week.